Yay, it's time to record chapter 1. Right, this is gonna be like one of the last major comments before the chapter for a while. I just want to say, basically, the chapters from here, they have a somewhat interesting format. Most chapters have an end segment that either has like some bit from the past or some kind of additional bit in the present, and it is called a post chapter. So just as I'll read the name of the chapter in the beginning, near the end I'll say post chapter before reading out that last bit, just to avoid like confusion on what that might be. Another thing, the script has images, but for editing time I won't be moving them here. I'll link the script in basically every video. I'll have like a copy paste description, so you guys are gonna be able to like scroll through that if you want to like find some additional drawings, or of course you can see even more of it in the Discord because I have to plug it somewhere. Alright, I think that's about it, so without further ado, let me start reading chapter 1. Chapter 1, 6 clicks under. 4 panels depict Arid, a man completely hidden under layers and layers of flight gear, flipping some switches on the radar panel inside the cockpit of a Soviet Yak-28. The cockpit instruments are glowing in the dark, and despite how analog everything is, a faint, ominous glow emanates within the canopy. The scene quickly switches to forest, with daylight being present, unlike in the scene before. Max, a man dressed in a similar yet slightly lighter pilot uniform to that of Arid from the scene before, brings himself to kill a wild hare with a long, knife-sharpened stick spear. The hare looks fairly normal, though 2 short and fairly dark antlers can be seen sticking out behind its ears. He walks back up a hill to meet with Arid, who is keeping a pit fire burning. Arid is shown to be seemingly fairly calm, almost apathetic compared to Max, as his bright hair is slightly carried by the breeze while he cuts some wild onions. Max tells him with teary eyes that he managed to catch something, and Arid congratulates him and asks him if he will skin it. Max breaks down and yells at Arid to actually do his part and skin it himself. Arid, with a tired response, takes the hare behind a tree and begins to gut it. A few hours pass in the forest, and both Arid and Max are enjoying the last bits of the hare they ate, together with wild spring onions they picked earlier. Max tells Arid how useful it is to have the best chef in the Balkans as the person you are stranded with, and Arid replies that he also enjoys being next to the smartest general the surface has to offer. Both laugh at the bad over-exaggerations, and Max asks Arid whether he expected this to be how their first proper intercept played out. Arid watches the sun set in between the trees, casting a strange purplish light as the titanic yet very distant cliff line begins to stretch a shadow below its base. He lays back in the cold grass and recalls yesterday when he and Max had been in the secure confinements of an armored cockpit instead of the endlessly stretching tree-covered hills of the downfall. The scene switches back to the inside of the Yak-28's cockpit, where Arid is looking forward through the heads-up display with tired eyes. He tells Max he can't wait to get back to the airfield. Max looks at a paper map attached right above his knee onto his G-suit harness, trying to figure out where they are. The map shows a huge drop in elevation near the middle with several large cities marked. Near the middle of it he sees the Ural mountain range, and he looks out to the distance on his left, but he can't see much from the clouds. He says he can't wait to get back to base either, but he could really do with a softer landing this time. Arid sighs at the response and looks to the side, observing the cloud formations glistening in the moonlight. Max diverts Arid's attention to something flying forward and left of them. Max tells Arid to turn the plane towards the aircraft since nothing should be Arid sighs at the response and looks to the side, observing the cloud formations glistening in the moonlight. Max diverts Arid's attention to something flying forward and left of them. Max tells Arid to turn the plane towards the aircraft he saw, since nothing should have been on their patrol route, especially this far inland. Arid turns the Yak slightly, and the radar immediately picks something up. Max is seen in his bombardier and observation bay in the nose of the plane, messing with some optical equipment. Max warns Arid to keep his distance since they may have not been spotted yet. He grabs a hold of a small mounted rangefinder's sight and uses it to try and get a better look at the unknown aircraft. After a bit of adjusting, Max finally gets to see the magnified silhouette of a large armored airship cruising above the dark clouds. He calls out to Arid and tells him it's an air marine. Arid asks for the estimated size, but Max says they'll be spotted by the time he gets the rangefinder properly aligned. Clearly a bit panicked, Arid tells him to hold on since he'll get them closer to cloud cover. He is shown throttling down and turning the plane into an upside-down nosedive with deployed flaps. The air marine is shown from up close, flying with its 2 turboprop engines at maximum power. Behind it at a distance, the Yak is seen diving down and leveling out. Arid asks Max if he thinks this is an escape attempt, and Max says it obviously is, and even if it wasn't, the ship is still above the limiter. Aird tells him he'll try to get the lock on, but Max stops him since they need to call artillery. Aird wants to say that they just need to shoot it down, but soon changes his mind and agrees, but says they are in a lot of danger in their current possession. Max says they are not likely to be hit by any anti-aircraft fire at a distance. Aird says he's more worried of missiles, but Max tells him that nobody stupid enough to try and escape on an air marine would know how to use old world weaponry. Aird tells him he hopes he's right about that. Max tweaks the radio a bit before getting in contact with artillery and says he is about to read out the distance from them as well as their airspeed. A shot of the night sky is seen with the yak looking like a tiny dot behind the moonlit clouds. Max is approximating the airspeed of the air marine, but artillery says that the Uragan system has it on radar now, telling Max to get the yak out of there. Aird puts the engine to afterburner and pulls up sharply to the side with the plane rapidly gaining distance from the air marine. Just as the yak is about to turn a full 90 degrees away, an alarm sounds and Max yells out that there is a con-arm lock. Before Aird can do a thing, a piercing sound is heard, followed by a thunderous boom, and the yak's tail is blown clean off. Down on the ground, in the present, Max stands up, turns to Aird, and notes how they should go towards the cliff town they saw as early as possible, since they can't survive long without the rations that are in the plane's wreck. Aird just appears to be disappointed as he doesn't know how to deal with the situation. Despite this, Max rushes Aird to help him with setting up shelter so they can go to sleep on time. Now once again back in the past, the two pilots can be seen ejecting from the spinning fuselage of the yak. After a bit of time, their respective parachutes fully deploy. Aird is seen rapidly breathing through the air mask as he slowly descends through the freezing cold air. After he looks up, he sees Max descending too, so he calms down a little bit and looks to the side. He opens his helmet's visor and sees the air marine flying further and further away, though out of nowhere a dim light is seen on the side of its hull. The dot on the air marine turns bright and Aird moves his visor back down just in time for a bright flash to briefly illuminate the whole sky. The loud, unnatural and almost otherworldly sound of air plasma cutting away at steel plating is heard as a clear white-red beam of light forms before the air marine. After a few seconds the light breaks through the air marine, leaving behind some falling glowing red debris behind. The air marine starts losing altitude before a sky blue flame erupts rapidly from within it, tearing it into pieces as the detonation spreads outwards. In a matter of seconds, the sound of the explosion reaches Aird and the air marine is reduced to a falling pile of debris. The artillery didn't miss. The sky turns dark again now that moonlight is the only thing left to illuminate it, and the quick approaching layer of clouds below starts obstructing much of the horizon. Aird looks down into the shaded fog below him. The clouds turn darker as he falls further into them. The wet air soon starts to feel heavy. As the cold air slowly streams around him, frost starts to build up on his flight suit. Aird starts to quietly cry. Post-chapter. Last few panels show Aird waking up due to the bright morning light shining between the trees. Max is packing up their gear but doesn't notice Aird is awake. After moving away the parachute silk he was sleeping under, Aird sits up and pulls off a red, white and blue winter cap he was wearing, saying how lucky it was for him to carry it with him on his flight. As he puts the hat in his flight suit's pocket, Aird audibly gasps. He moves his hand onto the cold dew-covered grass. All of his fingernails appear to have gotten the white streaked lines running down them overnight. Aird looks away from his hand, standing upright and looking up into the sky with a disturbed expression. A few panels show him reaching into his uniform's front pocket and taking out a bottle of medicine, consuming a single white pill he took out of it.